Welcome. This is the 11th week in Ordinary Time. I'm Christine Ondrla. For many years, I served the people of Ascension as the Director of Religious Education. And during that time, I was trained in the Catechesis of the Good Shepherd, and for several years taught all three levels. One of the main pillars of the catechesis is the understanding and sharing of the parables of Jesus and how they relate to the kingdom of God. So I'm very eager to share this week's gospel with you and the two parables that it contains. This is a reading from the Gospel of Mark. Jesus said, "This is how it is with the kingdom of God. It is as if a man were to scatter seed on the land, and would sleep and rise night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow, he knows not how. Of its own accord the land yields fruit, first the blade, then the ear, then the full grain in the ear, and then when the grain is ripe, he wields the sickle at once, for the harvest has come." Jesus said, "To what shall we compare the kingdom of God? Or what parable can we use for it? It is like a mustard seed, that when it is sown in the ground is the smallest of all the seeds of the earth. But once it is sown, it springs up and becomes the largest of plants, and puts forth large branches so that the birds of the sky can dwell in it." With many such parables Jesus spoke, and they were able to understand it. Without parables he did not speak to them, but to his own disciples he explained everything in private. The word of the Lord. The people of Jesus' time knew what a kingdom looked like. They had lived under Roman rule for most of their lives, and the Roman officials set forth the acceptable parameters for the social order. Everything was under their control. In fact, they were the kingdom. Then Jesus entered with his radical description of what a kingdom could be, and it could not have been more different. From how it began, as small as a mustard seed, to the power it has within it to grow into what it is meant to be, to its generous welcoming of all who seek to enter, with a willingness to nurture and protect everyone, no matter what their rank or status. This challenge to the status quo could only be contained in the language of parables, and only those who had the vision and the courage to see the world differently could begin to understand and unravel the mysteries they expressed. In the glorious days of summer ahead, when the abundance of nature all around us so forcefully confronts us with miraculous growth, we are again challenged to reflect on God's reign among us. From creation to the time of Jesus to our day, night and day the kingdom has begun and continues to grow, but we know not how. How can we join Jesus in imagining this new world? First, we must humbly acknowledge that we have very little to do with its success. It will sprout and grow and yield fruit, even as we sleep and rise night and day. But we are called to recognize where it is beginning, even if it is only as small as a mustard seed. The months of the pandemic have shined a light on the previously hidden places where the kingdom is needed most. What seeds of growth can we sow there? And where has the kingdom already taken root? We cannot continue in a lack of awareness of these places, like equitable health care, housing, justice for all. Let us notice as much as we can and assist in that growth. Each of us will find our own way to contribute, and I encourage you to think of what your way is. Finally, how do members of this radical kingdom act? We must be as outreaching and nurturing as those branches of the mustard seed plant. To consider how we should be in this kingdom, let's think about some of the other parables that add to the two we heard today. One who participates in God's kingdom might have to be like a parent who welcomes their prodigal son with open arms. How does the parable of the workers in the vineyard challenge our sense of justice and generosity? The 10 bridesmaids remind us that to be part of the kingdom, I must prepare myself to contribute in a way that only I can. The story of the talents is a warning to those who do not risk all for the kingdom. The Good Samaritan challenges our sense of who is the stranger and who is neighbor. Who does belong in the kingdom? The precious pearl presents the value and worth of this kingdom and heightens our desire to be a part of it. I encourage you to find a quiet place outdoors this week and read one or more of the parables and reflect on how you are living it out or not. And I encourage you to let your imagination run wild. Be an active member of the kingdom. Plant where it is barren, nurture where it struggles to survive, and picture it in fullness if you can. And imagine, along with Jesus, what this world can be.